All right, listeners, I have a special treat for you today. A guy I've been following a long time. I really can't believe I haven't interviewed him before now because he's got a lot going on. Charlie Bellefontaine. Did I say the last name correct?
Yeah, you were close enough. It's Bellefontaine.
Bellefontaine. Bellefontaine. Well, yeah.
When I was a
But
little heavier, everybody called me Belly Fontaine, but I lost a few pounds, so nobody's doing that anymore, which is nice.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, he has Chicagoland home inspections in Chicagoland, I guess the greater Chicago area.
Correct.
Um, I want to get all into that, but first, let's give us a little background, Charlie. Like how how did you get in the glamorous world of home inspecting?
Yeah, I actually went to the old ITA schools when um, I think it was Dave Surratt, was teaching in Indianapolis, and I spent a couple of weeks down there, and it was amazing when I was 24 years old, thinking that I knew everything at that point in time. And uh, you get woken up real quick by what you don't know. So I started doing that. It took me probably about 4 months to get my first inspection. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was a full-time fireman as well. This was more of a hobby at the time. And
Right, right.
next thing I know is, I didn't really mesh well with real estate agents. I found that the way the market worked and most home inspectors, they really wanted to build trust relationships with real estate agents. And I just really took offense when everybody kept telling me how to change my business and run it better for them. And I didn't like it, so I decided back then to start marketing straight to the consumer. And then the search engine was Yahoo.
Right,
And
right.
the pay for click stuff was Overture, back then. And yeah, that went through. The business built up. We ended up getting about 7 inspectors, doing roughly 1,500 inspections. Oh, 07, 08 hit. I did not have any business sense and know how to manage that, so the business crashed. And thank goodness I was still a full-time fireman, so I was able to support my family and things like that. But one of the biggest mistakes I ever made, and if anybody's listening, you want to write this down, you need that work life balance. All right.
Yeah.
And I was working 30 days a month, 12-hour days. I felt that that was my duty to this family. And I really thought I was doing the right thing. And I would just hustle, hustle, hustle. And, we made a lot of money back then and everything was fine. And everybody tolerated me working because we were able to do some fun things. But then when the money dried up, things got a little difficult at home. I lost touch with my family, and we ended up getting a divorce after about 5 years on there, and it was horrible. Like I screwed up a family because I worked too hard,
Oh
and
man.
it is a horrible story, and it crushed me pretty bad. So then I did remarry, in 18, and I retired from the fire department, and I always just kept going with the home inspection, and just because I enjoyed it, right?
Right, right,
And
right.
and I didn't want to overwork anymore. So when I left the fire department, I asked my current wife if I could build this up again. And she's kind of a smart ass, I love her. Um, Perfect for me. And she goes, "Oh, can you? Just that." I'm like, "Yeah, I know I can." And this time I wanted to build it differently from the ground up so that it's going to be well, in case 2007, 8 hits again, I want to make sure that I'm going to be recession proof. All right, that comes in there. We may have to tighten the belts up, but I want to run lean. I don't want to have a big overhead with it.
Right,
So
right.
2018, it was just me. And today we're doing about 2,000 inspections a year.
Mm,
A little over,
wow.
well, we didn't hit 2 million last year, but I think we're going to exceed it this year. And we
That's
got,
awesome, man. That is awesome.
yeah, I'm happy with that. And we got 15 guys going. Some of them are part time, some do 5 a week, but everything is direct to consumer marketing. And I mean, we do have some real estate agents that send us work, but I just really, really like marketing to the consumer. So I don't have any stat. Well, that's not true. I have one VA that does like some social media things like that for me. She'll take a maybe schedule 1 or 2 calls a day on
Right.
there, but the other 10 or 15 jobs a day we get, it's all automated. And so I get
I
to,
want to get into that, but so much,
you
so
do or
much.
you don't?
No, I do, I do, I
Yeah.
do. Well, before we get to that, let
Yeah.
me ask you this. Let's back up a little bit. So, when you first started, way back when you went to ITA and you up to '08, when did you first start? Was that in the '90s, mid '90s,
1993. Yeah. My son was
1993?
born. That's our first child. And,
Okay.
and it was, it's the hunter gatherer thing. And I felt I needed to be a provider. And my wife was pregnant, and we're going to have this new baby. And even though I had a good, steady job, I felt I needed to make more money. You
Sure,
know,
sure.
I used to do concrete work on the side, and Chicago winters aren't always that fun doing concrete.
No, no.
You
My
know,
my daughter did a internship in Chicago for Pepsi. From She was there from January. Oh, it was cold. We brought her
it's
up there
cold. Yeah.
till June. She worked at that Pepsi, where the old post office is that
I
goes
do.
across the road there. Yeah,
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 across the Eisenhower, absolutely.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I'll tell you this: she loved Chicago for the restaurants and the bars and all that, but the weather,
I'm the same way. The history in this city, the culture, everything else that's part of the city is phenomenal.
the
But
food, yeah.
I don't do good with crowds, so I kind of stay away from all the heavy places. But yeah, you want any restaurant of any ethnic thing of it's everywhere. And this is
Yeah, it's an
a
awesome city.
beautiful city. And I'm
I
glad
just
she
want to go into
spent
summer
spring.
though.
Yeah.
January.
Springtime is beautiful here too, but summer in
Yeah.
this is just phenomenal. Yeah,
Oh
late
yeah. Yeah.
is just great. So
We went up there to see her and went to some Cubs games and went to
nice,
Lincoln Park and all. It was
nice.
fun. It was fun. Good stuff. Well, I definitely want to get into your automated. And first of all, let me tell you, you've accomplished what much of us, many inspectors want to do. I mean, a lot of us are, you know, I don't know. I don't want to say kissing butt, but that's a little strong. But a lot of us market real estate agents, and there's
Yeah,
some great agents, and there's some
sure.
agents, but how we would love to bypass. I'm not going to speak bad of agents because some of them have been really good to me, but we're in a weird profession where that we're marketing somebody who's actually not our client, who's representing the client, and it's a weird dynamic. I can't think of too many other businesses that are like that. But and I've always wanted to market directly to the public, and I'm interested to see how you do it. My problem has always been like what the average person buys a house, what, every 5 years, 8 years or something,
Nice.
where, when do you hit them? Like you got to figure out when they're about ready to buy a house. Because me just advertising to somebody today, they're not going to remember me 8 years from now. So you got to figure out, how do you hit the public, right when they're ready to buy the house. So I'm curious to hear about all that. But even before we get to that, though,
Yeah.
because I want to take a deep dive into that. I do want to ask you too about your radio show that you do that I see,
Oh
and
no.
AI Charlie. Tell me about those. So tell
Which
me
one
about
do
the
you want to
radio
know?
show first.
Radio?
Yeah.
So
So do you do a weekly show or that? And that's
we
awesome.
do. Yeah, it's a weekly show. It's on WCPT AM 820. We record on Wednesday mornings. That's what I did this morning. And it airs Saturday mornings at 6 o'clock. And I think there might be four people that listen to the show.
No, but
You
it gives you
know,
cred, man. It gives you cred.
it's my whole thing is just, trying to get the education out. But the reason why I did that, all right, is I, I I'm a big football fan.
Mhm.
And I know that if you're going to have a good offense in football, you have to focus either on the run game or the passing game. And if you got a good run game, the passing game opens up. If you
Right.
got a good passing game, the run game opens up, right? Our
Right.
business is no different than football.
Right.
There's going to be a direct to consumer game and there's a real estate agent game. All right. They are different and there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. I got the direct to consumer dialed in. All right. That just works flawlessly. And then I'm like, all right, why am I leaving all these real estate agents on the table? And then I talk to myself a lot and I answer myself, which is kind of weird. I get it.
They got bills for that,
I
Charlie.
think they do. But it's like, in the state of Illinois, we have 75,000 licensed real estate brokers. All right. 80% of them did not do one transaction last year.
Right, right.
And, so now everything has to do with the value of my time. That is the most valuable. I know that's arrogant to say, so please forgive me.
No, no, no. That's our anybody's most valuable asset.
It really is. And I am not going to screw up this family like I did my first one. All right. I put all the blame on me for focusing on trying to be a provider and not being a father. All right. And that's not going to happen again. So I work my hours, and when my hours are over, it's family time, and that's it. And everything's about building the strength in that relationship. So I only had so many, minutes in the day that to get things done. So I started thinking, all right, who do I spend the time to get to know? And then I got to see if I like them. And then I got to see if we trust each other. And then we're going to go ahead and build a relationship, because there's no relationship that can be built without trust. All right.
Right.
And then I look at it, I'm like, well, you know, 75,000 minus 15,000, it's 20%. That leaves me with 60,000 out of 75,000 real estate agents that haven't done a transaction. Why am I going to spend my time trying to build a relationship with them? So what I did was I started marketing in the Real Producer magazines,
Yeah.
because they
Top. Yeah.
focus on the top 250% or
Right,
250,
right.
right? And then now you got it. There it is. You're in there,
Yeah.
and then it's like, all right, these are people that are successful. I'm hoping that they care about their clients more. Now what I have to do is convince them to stop working with the real estate agent that they have a relationship with and start referring business to our company. All right.
Right.
And, again, this was a learning thing for me. All right.
Right.
And it came back where, not everybody sees what I do as valuable. All right. I did a research, and my clients want a lot of time on site. My clients want a long list. They don't care if it's minor or major. They just want as many things documented as possible. All right. They want to be educated about what it is that they're buying so that we can help them make a decision. You can't do that in 45 minutes, right?
Right.
And the inspectors in this area that do very well with most of the real estate agents, and don't get me wrong, there's other guys that do spend a lot of time, but I know one of my competitors, his big focus is speed. He wants to send two, sometimes three guys, and he wants to be less than 45 minutes on site. All right. And, he still thinks he's covering everything. And I guess maybe he is, but all three of those guys end up doing three inspections in a day, where I would rather spend one guy there for 3 to 5 hours.
Yeah.
All right. And not even do a second inspection. All right.
Right. Right. Right.
So
Right.
so I started the radio show as a way to bring different real estate agents on the air to give them a
Smart.
reason to talk to me. All right. So I took them out to breakfast before we recorded the show. So now it's a one-on-one, for basically an hour and a half there, and then another hour on the radio show where I'm just trying to find out about them and trying to
That's
see
smart, man. That's
how
smart.
important they are. It wasn't quite as smart as you think. And I did meet some high producing agents. I built some relationships of trust with them, and they still refer us, and we're pretty good. And I still do the relationship, but the strongest agent that I have, he asked me if he could come on full time. And I really didn't want to build more relationships with other agents anymore. So he's on every week now. And then I do have a real estate attorney that's on there, and a mortgage broker. And these are all high producing people, right? So we all pitch in to pay for this and the advertising, and we're even starting to build a question and answer community, and we're going to start doing some group marketing with that.
That's
Um,
brilliant, man. Love it.
no, you want the
Now,
whole idea.
do they
Yeah,
record it? Like, can you get it on demand? Do they do a recording of it?
yeah, they make a podcast for it. It's on Spotify, for the voice. We broadcast it on YouTube. Right now I think the YouTube channel is called the Home Buyers Hour, but we changed the name to Chicago Housing Experts. And then so you could see all the videos. We broadcast live on Facebook as well. But again, it's mostly mostly complaining, about the profession. I'm not gonna lie. It's things that go wrong, things that we hear, when people start asking us questions, we bring those questions on the radio and then we answer them publicly. And, sometimes it's just you shake your head. I just can't get over on the incompetency that's in our profession. And I'm not talking just home inspectors. I'm talking mortgage brokers, attorneys, real estate agents, everybody who's here. And it's like, are you kidding me? What goes on here? What goes through
Yeah.
somebody's brains when they do it? And it's just a hard pill for me to swallow when you got this one person who's buying a house, which is a very emotional time in their lives, and you got other people that, I just want your money.
Yeah.
And that doesn't sit well with me. you know.
Yeah. No, you know what? When you talk about an emotional time, one time I was curious. I was like, I mean, you can Google it anytime. I was like, what are the 10 most stressful things in a person's life? And I remember number one was death of a child. Nobody wants that. I mean, that's obviously the worst ever. And then it was like divorce, kid moving out, kid moving in, new job, something else. But I remember thinking to myself, usually when we are inspecting a house for somebody, they're going through hopefully not death of a child, but a new job, new city, upsizing, downsizing, kid moving. There, two or three of the top 10 stressors in life. They're probably having a combination. You know what I mean? So you're right. It is a very emotional time for somebody when they're buying a house, and they need somebody they can trust. That's what they need. But I think your radio show is brilliant for multiple reasons. It gives you an opportunity to offer something to a real estate agent of value instead of just give me business, give me business. Hey, come on my show, talk about, and it gives them a platform as well. They can say they've been on the radio. They could,
Yeah,
you put it on YouTube. You could chop that up, and I,
yeah,
I, I see so many opportunities. I've done a radio show a couple times, but I was a guest, a recurring guest. I've never hosted, but I think that's brilliant. I think it's brilliant.
yeah.
All right,
It's
so tell me about AI Charlie. I love this. It's like you can go in there and ask questions and stuff.
yeah. You know, the other thing that I try to do with building trust, all right, and I'm going to use that word over and over and over again. All right, when you market direct to consumer, the most important thing you got to do is build trust with your client. And if a real estate agent is good and they're on their game, they've already done that. All right.
Right, right.
But you're going to be surprised by how many real estate agents, their clients don't trust them, and I'm taking advantage of that one there. So one of the things, the main reason why I started the AI thing is the state of Illinois tracks by zip code every radon test that was done by a licensed technician or a licensed professional. And
Okay.
so we know how many were done. We know how many were over the action level. We know what the averages are. And, my whole thing is I don't want to keep running up the bill. Don't get me wrong. I want to make as much money as I can per inspection. Right now we're averaging 950.
Woo, that's awesome.
That's
That
with
is awesome.
ancillaries and everything else.
Yeah.
But I
We
find
hit 800 for the first time last month, but
which is
yeah,
awesome. And
yeah,
if somebody wants to pay it, I want to provide the service. I just
sure.
don't want to manipulate anybody into it. So
Right.
we have a couple of zip codes in Chicago, like Lincoln Park, Lincoln Square, 60611, 60614. I can remember these offhand. But over 100 tests were done in those zip codes, and not one was over the action level, right? So this is where I start educating my clients. Say, listen, this is your risk. This is your reward. You could pay us $270 to do a radon test. And granted, you have a chance to negotiate roughly about 1,500 or 2,500 if it's a crawl space, to go ahead and get the mitigation system installed by the sellers. But the real thing is, what is your risk? If we never had, and the risk is basically zero because no other test has ever been that high. And of course, I told the disclaimers in there, everyone's different. Is it really worth spending $270 with me for a 0% chance to do, to get $1,500 from a seller? Or are you better off saving that money, go to Home Depot after you move in, buy the charcoal canisters? They're just as accurate as the continuous
Yeah.
monitor systems. I don't care what anybody says,
No, I
and
agree with you. Oh
and you
man.
spend $30, but now the risk is if it is high, you're paying for it.
Yeah.
So the whole idea is to give them enough knowledge so they can make an intelligent choice. So we got some areas where 40% is over, and that's enough for them to want to get the buy. We get other people that is, um, they're other people come in here and the market is so hot that there's like 10 other buyers and they're like, well, I can't get it anyway. So why waste my money on this? I agree. I'm an advocate for testing. I'm just not an advocate for paying us. So that's where it started. I wanted to put all that information into the AI database and set up how it responds with that. And poof, now somebody can ask that question. And here's the secret to marketing direct to consumers: answer the question as fast as you can, no matter what time of day or night it is. All right. This isn't advertising. This is all about the best value. And we'll get into that again in a little bit. So if somebody wants to know if they should test for radon, I give them an avenue that they can go ahead and find out if it's a good idea or not. All right. Then what I did was I hunted down all of our code books, all of our training manuals that we use to teach home inspectors. And I watch all these things. And if somebody has a question, or even our inspectors have a question, and I want to have a code reference for whatever item it is, I got a place that only searches the documents that I gave it, and it's able to go ahead and get that information. And it works well. Our guys use it all the time. We also have a home inspection training program here in Illinois, and I put that same thing right in there. So
So
if
you're
any,
putting all this into the AI where it can answer questions.
yeah, I don't want it out in the public. I'm sorry, I just don't know where it's getting its knowledge from. I
Yeah.
want to make sure that it only gets its knowledge from these specific sources. So,
Right, right. Oh, I love it. You know what it reminds me of, but it's way better is do you remember that homeowners network thing they had a couple of years ago? I think Kevin oh, what was his name? Kevin
Mally,
yeah, yeah. I think it was him or was it Casey O'Malley and Kevin?
it was
You know, they
both
used
of
to be
them.
together. And
Yeah, and
we had that homeowners network there for a while where we would
yeah,
offer it where homeowners could or any customers of yours could ask it a question. But I think he was on the other side of it actually answering all these things,
Mike
which
was.
was great.
Yeah,
But that can only scale so far. But now you've got like AI doing it, which is awesome, and for your guys and everything. That
as long as it gives the right answer, and if it
yeah,
pulls out the word for word what the code is, then I'm good with it. I don't
yeah,
want
that's that
another opinion.
that's been a worry of mine. We're putting in something. We're working on an AI thing too, but like you said, if you don't know where it's pulling the information from, if it's pulling from the internet, well, it can pull from the wrong information and tell somebody something's wrong, and I don't want to be liable. Somebody's building a deck and they ask it something, and you tell them wrong, and the deck collapses or something. That would be awful.
My God, God forbid. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, tell us. All right. So let's dive in. Uh, just marketing to the consumer, direct to the consumer. You know, take me through it, and where I'm hoping we'll wind up is I know because you were talking about it on Internach, and I was in a pod group meeting, and people were telling us about what you're doing, which sounds really exciting. But yeah, just take us from you know beginning to educate, but assume I don't know anything. So tell me how this works.
Yeah. It's, there's a difference between, what I call a website and a funnel. All right. And, websites are designed, and this is where most home inspectors make a mistake. They're designed for somebody that's buying now. All right. We don't need to talk anybody into it. There's no nurturing. They want this product now. So, I like to use the example of pizza. I'm hungry. I want to eat. I want a pizza. I want it now. Who are we hiring? Where do they go? They, give me a pizza place near me. They look at reviews, who has good pizza. Here's some Yelp stuff. Here's some Google stuff. And poof, that's who I'm going to hire. And they hired a pizza. All right.
Right.
Now, I'm
Right.
not trying to diminish our profession by
No,
saying,
no, no. I get what you're saying. It's
but it's, I want it now. All right.
right. Who's
And
got good reviews, who's close by, who can do it quickly, who can
so,
respond to me quickly, like you said.
yeah, and that is important. I'm going to push on that real hard. So, certain things have happened before this client started looking for home inspectors. First of all, they're out there searching for houses. They're working with the real estate agent. All right. They looked at a bunch of houses. They finally decided on one. All right. And then the real estate agent is going to refer the person that they trust as the home inspector that's coming in there. But in this situation, my client didn't go with that referral. So the question is why? Why didn't they go through this? And if and I'm encouraging people, I actually put a little PDF. So if anybody wants it, it's a step-by-step instruction on how to do a deep research to find out the pain points of home buyers in your area, right? And it's
Oh
extremely
yeah,
valuable. When I
I'm
first
really
started
interested in
this,
that.
now I'll give it to you because when I first started going into business again, I spent, oh my God, I'm so embarrassed to say this. I spent $15,000 hiring a coach to tell me what do I need to do to get home buyers to choose me, right? And I did it again about 2 weeks ago on Google Gemini through their deep research. The answers were the same. And the first time I spent
And it
15
was free
grand,
this time around.
15 grand, it took them a month and a half to do it. And this time it was free and it got done in about 15 minutes. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me, but technology is that much greater now, right?
Yeah.
So going back to the client and what has happened. All right. So they didn't choose the real estate agent's referral. All right. They didn't even want to talk to any of those things. So if you do this deep research, you're going to find that a lot of people are saying, yeah, and I don't trust the real estate agents. We've used the real estate agents referral before, and that burned us. This happened to my father, and it's going to be different in different parts of the country. All right. So in our area here, home inspectors really gave away all of their power to the real estate agent community. All right. And what I mean by that is I will, what do you want me to do? You want me to go faster? I'll go faster. You want me to go cheaper? I'll go cheaper. You want me to write
Yeah.
shorter reports? I'll write shorter reports. I don't want to upset you because I want you to keep sending referrals.
Right.
And
Right.
now, I still get that today, but I'm in a position right now that because we're booked out over a week and I just dial up the dollars for my ad spend. If I'm slow, we make the phone ring more. That's all. And I know that we're going to land 80% of the gigs. So, and the real estate agent, like I just had one, I banned her. I'm such a jerk, but she's been in the business for 15 years. She's never referred us. She went ahead and bought a house of her own, and she didn't want to hire the home inspector that she's been referring, and so she hires a,
That says a lot.
you know,
Yeah.
which is great. I'm like, I don't care. I'll work for anybody. I want to be, kind on that. And so we did our job. And again, I don't market them. I don't, if you want to refer us, refer us. It's that simple. I really don't care anymore. I don't need it. Right.
Right.
And so then she sent us one referral. Okay, thank you. And then she sends us another one. And the second one, she goes, you know what? Can you cut my client a deal? And you know, the price is kind of high. Can you lower the price down a little bit? I'm
Uh,
like, no. And I got offended by that, right? And I'm a little bit of a smartass. All right. And I'm like, no, but I understand what you're trying to tell me. You really want to try and save your clients some money. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to recommend that most of the agents that I work with, they cover some of the costs for the repairs. The agents pick this stuff up. And I'm going to recommend that they ask you to go ahead and pay for the cost of the repairs. She didn't like that too much, right? And she goes, well, I'm a real estate agent. Don't you care? I'm like, are you not getting the message? I don't care. You are now hereby banned from referring us and working with us. I'm putting a DND. You're not even going to be able to call our phones anymore. I
oh
don't
wow.
want to deal with. I know it's harsh. I get it, and I yeah, I get it. It's harsh. All right, but I'm in a
Oh,
position.
I'm sure. Like, there's going to be inspectors listening to this, going, "Man, I wish I could do that," or "I wish I did that."
You
Probably.
can if you
Yeah.
my I got one job in this business to keep the calendar full. All right.
Yeah.
There's 15 families that rely on this income. I need to keep them working. I don't want to do it by conforming to any other person's wishes to what they want me to run my business. I want to conform to my client. I want to, my value is what's the most important to me. And that's what I push when somebody goes in there. So when I market directly to the consumer, I don't care about the real estate agent. I care about the client. So now we have to focus on why that client isn't using the real estate agent. So we found a pain point, search it through the Google, Gemini. Then I got to become the answer. And a lot of those answers were, I want my home inspector to explain more things to me. I want to be on site to be able to answer questions. I don't want to feel rushed when we're going through the home inspection. I want to be able to get as much as I can. I want somebody knowledgeable. I want all these things. I'm like, all right, so now I got all this gold information. Let's start restructuring the business so that I could be the solution to those problems. And that's something that's called PASS. And it's a very common marketing method that's super powerful. And it stands for pain, agitate, solution.
Solution.
So
Yeah.
if you were on my website, you're going to see in our headline, our hero section, that I hit that pain point right off the get-go. All right. Why smart home buyers choose us. That's me punching them right in the nose saying, you made a dumb decision before. You don't want to do it again. This is why smart people do us. And then I agitate that a little bit. And because family is very important to me. So because it's your family, it's your money, it's your home, you deserve the best. Right.
Right. Right.
And then I go into detail of how we're the best and how we're the solution. And people and everybody says that when the consumer calls, they're just looking for the cheapest price. They are so wrong in that statement. The person who's calling and searching doesn't know what is a good home inspector. All right. The only thing they know and the only question they know to ask is how much.
Well,
And
that's
then
all they know to compare on. But you got to
that's it.
educate them. You got to educate them.
But sometimes they don't want to be educated. That's another
Yeah.
problem. I don't want to sit here because, then they're afraid that we're all salesmen, right? And we're just trying to convince them into choosing us and we're schmoozing and everything else. So they kind of put up a wall, a defensive wall that's on there. I found that, and I know that everybody else says, answer the phone, answer it fast. I'm just the opposite. Do not answer the phone. All right. Get all of your information in writing. If somebody calls, you get the information to them in writing as fast as you can. All right. Speed to lead is important, whether you're going to answer the phone or you're going to do it communicating wise. But what I found is the best is, and we have it on our IVR or our phone tree. If somebody dials our phone, they're going, hey, this is Charlie, and it's a stupid message, but whatever. If you're researching home inspectors, we have it all written out for you already. Just press 1 if you're calling from a cell phone, and it'll be texted to you. You'll have our pricing, what makes us unique, and the good, the bad, and the ugly, all about the home inspection business. It's a 9-page document and a PDF that I send them. And it
Now,
talks.
do you text it or email it to? Does it? And this
I
is all
get
automated too, by the way, isn't it?
it is, and they get the option. So the first option, because most people like texting, and the IVR can text, but the IVR can't email. All right.
Okay.
So we give them the first option to receive the text. And then, if you want to talk to an actual live human being or you want an email version of these things, press 2, we'll push, you'll go to our agent, tell her which way what you want, and then she'll send it to you, so they could transfer calls, everything else. So if they press 2, that fires up our voice artificial intelligence. And again, these things are running 24/7. They don't
Yeah.
take holidays. There's no sick days. There's nothing. And there's no
You don't
cost.
have to pay workman's comp on them.
Nothing. There's no cost to these things. And don't get me wrong, I value humanity.
Hey guys, thanks for listening. I appreciate you listening to the podcast. I hope you're getting value out of it. I'm sponsoring, I guess, myself. I'm not really selling anything, but hey man, I thought I'd just tell you about I do a little art on the side, PrestonSandlin.com. Check it out if you got some time. Kind of do some cool looking stuff, I think, but I understand that art is subjective. Also, I'll follow you back if you follow me on TikTok. I'm Inspector Crazy Pants. I'm Inspector Crazy Pants on Instagram. We have two on Instagram: Inspector Crazy Pants and Home Inspection Carolina. We are also, Home Inspection Carolina on Facebook, and you can check out our website, homeinspectioncarolina.com. But you guys follow me, I'll follow you back. Comment, I'll try to comment back. I think it helps everybody's algorithm. So without further ado, I'll let you get back to the podcast. I just want to say I appreciate you listening, and hopefully we'll see each other sometime at a conference. Thanks a lot.
I really do. And I understand that everybody wants to work and they need jobs, but I need value, and if I could find some way to get my information in a very consistent manner, that's exactly the words that I want each and every time immediately, I'm going to do it. So, when you get to the AI agent, if somebody wants to speak to me or Maria, she does the scheduling, or any of our other inspectors, they just ask for it. And then the call gets transferred straight to that person. If they want to get it by email, she'll ask them to tell me your email address and spell it out. She'll confirm it, and then poof, it's gone right away. All right. Everything is done in less than a minute. And that's my goal, is to get the client off the phone in less than a minute. I want all my information in front of them. And when you start thinking about that, the number one thing that a home buyer wants is a home inspector that's thorough. Well, how do you prove? Prove is the key word. How do you prove to somebody that you're thorough?
Sample report.
What's that?
Sample report.
Yeah, that is, but that's just, that's one sample report, and I get it. We have 4 of them up there. The links to the reports are in there as well. And our clients do research, and I know they see them and that, but now you're asking them to do 2 or 3 steps.
Yes.
The very first step is going to be give them a thorough response. If I come out there and I just tell you we charge 550 base price and that's it, that's not very thorough. And even if I tell you I'm going to be thorough or I'm going to treat you like your family or blah, 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 I mean, those are words.
Yeah, everybody says that. Nobody's going to say I'm the mediocre guy.
Right. But if you send somebody a 6, 7, 8, 9-page PDF document that lays out all your ancillaries, and you're not trying to upsell them, you're telling them the risk, the rewards, you're telling them, that we only do 1 inspection a day because we don't want to rush through your inspection. The faster you go, the more you miss. And if I try to hurry up to a second appointment, or I'm working in the afternoons and I want to get back to my family, then I neglect my client, and I don't want to do that. So we only do 1 inspection a day. We only do them in the morning. We figure out what the ancillaries, and these guys are still making a good dollar. All right. So speed to lead is key.
And you said it's the average is $900. That's like 2 inspections, or used to the average was like 450. So yeah.
And that's the whole thing. And some guys are doing 3 inspections for the same amount of money that we're doing 1. All right. So I would rather do awesome. 1 inspection at the same income. And not like that, but no staff means I give more money to my inspectors. I keep more money in my pocket too. So we're all making more money. And these guys don't want to leave. They love not being pressured. They're not overworked. They're home with their families by usually 3:00 in the afternoon. They still have to write the report, because that's another part of our sell thing. We're not going to write the report on site. I'm a believer that you got to do 3 things really good. You got to focus on the house, focus on your client, and focus on writing the report. And I'm also a believer that you can only do 2. All right.
I know some people are big on that on-site report, and I'm not throwing shade on them, but I've always thought I like to concentrate, sit down, and think about what I'm going to say, and but so let me recap here and make sure that I'm so you're marketing to the public via AdWords, Google Ads, things like that. Call comes in, it's automated. Press 1 to tell us to get information about our company, and that automatically triggers a 9-page PDF about to text to them.
Yeah.
But if they want to talk to an actual person or, to schedule or something, they press two. Now, if it's after hours, can you press two, or does it say, is there a message? How does that work? Like,
Yeah, you
I
can
know the
still.
thing runs 24/7, but I wouldn't think like you might not have Maria at 12 o'clock midnight scheduling inspections.
It's just going to go straight to her voicemail or my voicemail or our inspectors. After business hours, we're not answering the phone. All right. If it's an emergency and they really need to get to me, they could say it in the voicemail. I'll probably listen to it or read it because it does transcribe everything, but that doesn't really happen, you know.
Yeah, that's cool. And you say you got I think earlier in the call you said like 80 some percent
Yeah.
uh
Yeah,
rate.
80% of our leads, it's a math game now, is all it is. I know that if I get so many phone calls in a day, I'm going to have so many scheduled. It's pretty consistent. So
So
when
is there a way, like, I guess, does it track? So, all right, so I call, and I'm shopping around trying to figure out, you send me the thing and I read it, I like it, I call back. Is that how somehow it's figuring out that that number called twice? I mean, how are you calculating your close? I mean, how does it know I scheduled, you know what I mean?
So we use the root of everything. It's called high level. All right. And everybody refers to it as go high level. It's a contact management system. So as soon as somebody calls in there, we're reporting their phone number. If there's a caller ID with the name, we get the name. They are now a contact in our system. All right. And if they go ahead and place an order, well, we know that they called, when they called, and how they reached us. We have all that information already. If they come through Yelp or Google local service ads, we have that information as well. But we know how many times the phone rings. We know how many times it's a robocall, so we remove those because we see a transcript of everything that happens on there. And then
Right,
we
right,
know
right.
how many jobs we get. So it's that simple, whether it comes in by text or by phone, it's, how many calls come in and how many jobs do we schedule. So
I
it's
love
not
it. And
very
when you
difficult.
need more business, you can turn up the Google ads. Now
Yeah,
now Charlie, tell me now you're providing this for other inspectors now, correct? If they want to
I
do it,
am.
is that, so
Yeah.
tell us about that. Like if what would I do if I'm interested in getting involved in that? What does that
Yeah.
look like?
Well, we started up an agency and it's called GetSync. And thank you for letting me plug it. GetSync.pro is the website. And it's the full suite of everything that Go High Level offers, plus, a few proprietary things that I was able to develop, right? So, one of the things that Yelp has a problem with is these autoresponders, but we were able to figure out a way through APIs and communicating with Yelp that I now have my AI agent answer the Yelp request automatically. So in less than a minute, we're responding to every single Yelp request instantly, right? So GetSync or Go High Level, same thing. It's unlimited websites, unlimited funnels, blogs. You could do surveys. You could do forms to fill out. It has a calendar in case you don't want to use Keystone or ISN or something like that. You can actually run your business off of this. You have all your contracts in there. People could DocuSign these things. You could collect money. Where right now we have the coders developing a way to log payments when we get paid by Zelle or Venmo, because those are 0% transactions that come in there. So we charge extra for credit card payments and that, but we prefer the Zelle or Venmos because I just don't want to pay the fees. All right. There's a community section. It does all your Google ads. It's all everything's under one roof, which is
That's
cool
nice.
about it. There's also automation, there's phone numbers. Every inspector, we purchased a phone number from them. Now there are extra costs for that. Each phone number costs $1.15. But I'm hearing people using outside services and they're paying $20 and $40 a month, for a separate phone number for their inspectors just so that they can, stay in control of these things. And I'm like, we're charging $50 a month or 500 a year for everything. All right. And the phone number is $1.15 a month. It's like, to me, it's just a no-brainer. Let's
Yeah,
go
yeah.
ahead and do these things. And then I try to, do what I can to coach, right? We also developed a, I think we got about 100 of them now, and they're Canva templates. So we give them away for free. We give them to the real estate agents that we're marketing to. But I market to real estate agents with a funnel. I don't market with them to a website. It's a separate thing. So, we bought a list of 30,000 real estate agents in the Illinois area, and it just automatically sends every week, sends an email to them. If they don't want it and they opt out, that's fine, opt out. I have one of the VAs every time there's a newly licensed real estate agent that their new license pops up, they go in the system, hunt them down,
Oh,
get their
nice.
email, get their phone number, and then start sending them this stuff. I spend no time, no money, no effort, on doing any of the relationship building. And the first step is giving away the templates and showing a little bit of value, who we are, an introduction. But I don't tell them more so who we are and how we operate yet. I just want to say, hey, this, if you're interested, this is something about home inspections. You're welcome to edit this stuff and use it. We're going to send you a new one every week. And they're videos, they're slide decks, they're flyers, whatever. And then if they like it and they go ahead and download it, and we're going to now get their permission and now they're interested in us, we're going to keep sending them the same stuff. But now we're going to be telling them who we are. Hey, just so you know, we're going to spend, we schedule 5 hours on site. Usually we average around 3, but this is what we do. We average 70 issues when we document our reports. If this is something you want for your client, let's move on and see what we could do to build a stronger relationship. My goal is to push the agents that don't want what we do away. All right. I don't want to talk to
Yeah,
them.
I love the way.
I don't want to waste 1 minute of my time trying to build a relationship with somebody who's not going to value what we do. So I want to be very clear about what we do. And if they still want to keep moving forward and we get to the third stage and they download, now we'll give you everything. And now I get to talk to you. Now I want to get to know you if this is what it is. And then we'll have a phone call. And if we build a relationship, we build a relationship. And then we let it run. So I'm not going to hate the real estate agents. I'm just not going to conform to them.
Right. Or kowtow to them, I guess would be a good. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just trying to use a different word, but you're right. That's the right word.
No, I love it. So
Yeah.
you alluded to it. So tell if I'm interested in signing up to get Sync Pro. You kind of alluded to it. Tell me again the cost. What would I be looking at to call
Yeah.
the
There's always a few ups and extras with everything, but the root fee is $50 a month or 500 a year. All right. And on GetSync.pro, you're going to see the list of everything that's included in there. All right.
That's a
And
deal, man. That's a good
it
deal.
is, it is a, well, if you go directly with high level and you just get a personal account, that's $97 a month. All right. And you're still paying the extra cost for everything else. So being in an agency, I can get the cost a little bit cheaper, and everybody makes more money this way. And it works. I mean, you still have to get like a phone line if you want our system to do the auto texting. You're still going to have to pay for extra for emails that it sends out. But like the phone I mentioned is $1.15 a month for each line that you get. And the text messages, I want to say it's like 1/3 of 1 penny for every text message that you go to. So for most of us just running our business and doing communication with clients, and you're going to be paying about the same for voice and the same for emails, 1/3 of a penny, something like that. You're going to rack up an extra $10 a month in usage cost, right? Now, if you go ahead and do 30,000 email blast, that price is going to be more expensive, obviously.
Right.
1/3 of an email times 30,000 or 1/3 of a penny times 30,000 adds up. All right.
Yeah, it does.
And same thing. And this system can do voicemail drops. It could do robocalling outbound. It has artificial intelligence to answer your phones, respond to your emails, respond to your text messages. The system is dynamic and you get to program everything. You're just paying for the usage and that's it. Now,
Yeah.
there's other things that are extra, like search engine optimization and, Yext and a few other things that I think are important to bring the cost down. But for the main route to get everything going and start converting leads, I think it's pretty affordable,
I love it. I think it's a good
and
deal.
and you
So
could do
for
all this stuff on your own too. I mean, when I first started doing it before I got wind of this system here, I had it all, everything that I wanted to say written on my iPhone on the notes. So I would just go in there and copy it, go to the phone number, text the phone number, paste, send, done. All right. So I could do it manually. But I was
it's
waking
hard to
up
scale that. Yeah, but with the artificial intelligence now, though, it's like, yeah, that's
easy,
awesome. So it's
but I was doing it at 2 o'clock in the morning. I was doing it, in the middle of dinner with my family. It's like, okay, I'm making the same mistake again. I don't want
I
to,
hear you. Well, this artificial intelligence is, I mean, it is amazing some of this stuff, and you start thinking, what are some routine type things that we do
yeah,
that, this could do for us, And I'm
yeah.
like you too. I love, I know some people are like, it's going to take jobs away or something like that. But, people have been saying that, what's the famous quote about buggy whips? There were people who took care of
Oh,
horses.
other people's money. I love that movie. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. So, I mean, I mean, it's just a natural evolution. And my theory is too, like you alluded to it before, your primary responsibility, I think, and like mine, is to your family and those 15 families that work for you.
yes,
So you need to do whatever it is to be stealth and take advantage of what, because if you don't, I mean, it's coming either way, and
yeah.
you could be on the front of the curve, or you know, you could be Amazon or you could be Kmart.
Yeah.
Which, and I always say, if you get romantic about business, that's a fatal flaw, man. That is a fatal flaw.
Life is a competition, and the sooner we accept that, and there's nothing wrong. I am friends with the other multi-inspector companies in our area. We have a fantastic relationship. In fact, like Ross Niag, Jamie Dunsing, they're on the board of directors with me, and we negotiate with the state licensing board when there's changes in our laws. We work together on these things. We build a very tight relationship of trust from each other. Just because we do business a little bit differently is not a negative thing. All right.
Yeah,
And I value these guys, like there's no tomorrow. But it is still a competition. All right.
yeah.
And I want to keep my guys busy. I want to make money. And that doesn't make me a bad guy. All right.
No, no, it
I want to
actually makes
give
you
good service. That's all. I want to give good value. And that's
100%
really important to me. I want happy customers.
awesome. Well, Charles, I mean, Charlie,
Oh, you're good.
I want to be respectful of your time,
Hmm.
and I want to come back and get all of your contact info and how people can get that. But I do have a lightning round for you, real quick,
Uh-oh.
just to make it a little more fun. Where I give you two things and you choose.
All
So
right.
it's like either or, iOS or Android,
I didn't hear the first one.
iOS or Android.
iOS.
iOS, yeah, you did mention that. Are you like a smartwatch or old school wristwatch?
Smartwatch.
Ginger or Marianne? Don't want to get you in trouble,
Please
but
don't even insult me. Mary Ann.
yeah, that's what
You
everybody
know?
picks. There've been a few gingers. I've also interviewed people who are too young to even
Oh
who
no.
what.
Exactly.
But
It's
I was
funny
like,
because
I think Charlie would know who Ginger Marianne is. Tacos or pizza?
pizza,
Tennis shoes or flip flops?
tennis shoes.
If you had to be locked in a room with mosquitoes or a room full of clowns,
It's not lightning round. I don't know. I gotta go with the clowns. I just can't stand the mosquitoes. You know.
uh, if the mountains or beach, yeah, we're going on vacation.
Ooh, I love them both, but we're going to Washington State in 2 weeks, so we're going to the mountains.
Mountains, good deal. So last, or well, the toilet paper over or under, mullet
Over,
or what's
over,
that? Over, yeah.
over. Yeah,
That's what
don't be
everybody says,
insulting.
unless they have cats. From what I
Oh,
understand, if you have cats, if it's
I didn't
under,
know.
they can't undo it.
That's
All right.
interesting. I didn't know that. Yeah, that's a big deal in this house.
Yeah.
I
I
could
know
get
one
divorced.
inspector who changes them, and I'm like, dude, you can't do that to people's house. Don't do that.
Oh my goodness, that's hilarious.
Yeah. All
All
right. Last question, and then we'll get all your contact info.
right.
If you woke up in a brand new world tomorrow, same size market you're in, you have all your equipment, all your guys, but for whatever reason, you don't know anybody. You don't know, and you got $5,000. What are you going to do to get your name out there and market your business? It's kind of an ROI question. If I had five thousand
Yeah,
dollars, what's the best use of that 5 grand to market
I'm
it?
going to do exactly what I'm doing now, and as cocky and arrogant as it sounds, I can move anywhere in this nation with what I do right now, and I could fill my schedule up in less than 1 week. I tell people 30 days, but less than 1 week. So the first thing I would do is get my website built. I would have my hero statement set up with my headline, subheadline, and eyebrow statement up there. I would put a video at the very top of what our solution is and why we're the best choice on there. Um, and then I would be marketing on, depending on the um, domain authority of my website, whether you want to go Yelp or Google. I just had well, I'm sidetracking. So I would get the domain solid and built up there. I would hunt down the pain points of home buyers. I would get the website designed and written on there so that I'm going to be solution to all their pain points. I'm going to research all the other home inspectors in the area, find out what tools they use, what unique services they provide. I'm going to do all those and more. I am going to compete. I am going to be the best value. I will not be the cheapest price. I'm going to outprice these guys also. And then I'm going to start focusing on getting the leads and automating everything so that I convert those leads into paying clients. Anybody can do this.
Awesome. Awesome.
So I
Charlie, I
wouldn't do
lied.
anything different. Yeah.
Charlie, I lied. I do have one follow-up question. I
Huh?
said that was going to be the last question, but you made me think about it. You've obviously studied some marketing. I mean, I can tell by some of the stuff you're saying, and if you could recommend 3 books for home inspectors to read, what would those 3 books be?
Um, I'm only going to recommend books from people that I like because I'm not a reader. All right. And so please
Or
don't judge me
listener,
for
or if you
that.
could listen to them.
I'm a YouTuber. All right.
Okay.
And yeah,
Or YouTube channel or somebody to watch on YouTube. I'll take that. I'll take
yeah.
that.
Dylan wrote a good book. Um, you know, whatever your homeowners should know and stuff like that. And he focuses on the pain points of home buyers and home ownerships and that, which I do think is very valuable. But for me, I want to learn about motivation. I want to learn why do people make decisions? All right. And that's the focus. So I want to learn the difference between branding, which to me is advertising, and choosing. All right. You don't advertise your business. You do local ads, you do ad spending, but you're not going for name recognition. You're going to get found. All right. So the
Right.
3 steps, I didn't say this, and this is important. In order to get business off the internet, one, you got to be found. If you can't be found, you can't get hired. Number two is the hook. I hate that statement, but that's when I'm talking about the hero statement. You got to address the pain points that they have, and they need to know that you empathize with them. And then
Right.
you have to be the best value because the hook is going to get them to investigate you. The best value is what's going to get them to hire you and realize they're going to do that right away. And if you don't get all your information into their head as soon as possible, you don't stand a chance. All right. So, yeah, as far as that stuff goes, I just try to learn about motivation. And I didn't go to college or anything else like that. I was just a dumb fireman and a paramedic. for
Pretty
37
smart
years.
guy, man. But going to
Yeah,
college doesn't mean there's other types of education.
there
I think
always is. The College of Hard Knocks is quite expensive, though.
it is. It is. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for all of your nuggets and wisdom. So I want to get all of your for people who are interested in what you've said, they want to follow you. Tell us all ways, with the Get Sync Pro, your radio show. How can they find? Tell us all the ways we can find and consume you further.
Sure. And this is where I'm going to answer that question, and I'm going to leave a lot of stuff out, not on purpose, but this is going to explain why you want to put it in writing. All right. So I'm going to try and give it to you out of my head. GetSync is the Go High Level agency that we started. That website is www.getsync.pro. All right. The radio show is called Chicago Housing Experts, and I know you can find it on Spotify and everything else there. And then we haven't changed the Home Buyers Hour on our YouTube channel or our Facebook page, but you can go there. My business is Chicagoland Home Inspectors. We have two offices, one in the north suburbs, Northbrook, Illinois, and then the city in Chicago, downtown Loop area, is the other one. So we have two websites, two Yelps, and that was another mistake that I could share on that I made, but whatever. We're going to correct those things from there. And then, I try to help people, and I try to be polite to people. So I do troll a bunch of Facebook groups in there. And, there's sometimes I just want to do the old Three Stooges laughing to people, but I keep focusing, be polite, answer them, help them. And then every now and then you get a jerk out there that just wants to pick a fight. And, so that's a real quick way to get me to block you. I don't want to argue with anybody.
It
I'm just,
used to be worse, I'll tell you, man. I think
is
they've
it?
gotten better. I don't know if some of those people just weeded out, but I know exactly what you're saying. It's like you get some people on there that are just like, come on, man. And like somebody will ask a question, they're a new inspector or something, and it's just like somebody jumps all over them. It's just like, come on, man, you were a new inspector once too. I mean, don't beat up on somebody.
John Bolton always uses a phrase that I steal from him all the time. And John goes, the more you know, the more you're worth. All right. Well, in all reality, the more we help somebody else know something, the more we're all worth. All right.
Oh yeah,
Our
yeah.
profession has one of the worst reputations out there. People think we're dumb. People think we're in cahoots with real estate agents. They think a lot of bad things about us. And if you do that research, you will see that I'm not lying. But that is a marketing opportunity.
Yep.
If you can prove to somebody that you're not that reputation guy, you're going to make money.
100%. 100%. Well, Charles, thank you so much. I appreciate all. So follow him on all those things. Are you on Facebook as well? Or yours
Yeah,
your
I'm
is
on
your
Facebook.
yeah, give him some likes, some whatever the kids do these days, follows. I don't know what
Yeah. I'm a
help him out
boomer,
with if
so yeah, I'm a
yeah,
boomer, so it's all Facebook for me. None of
same,
that.
same. That's still where the majority of our clients are. I did a study on that. And
Did you really?
even
Because
though
I want to learn about that because I don't believe it. I really don't want to market on Facebook. To me, that's nurturing, and that's not the clients. I find that
yeah,
my clients don't even think about home inspectors until they already signed the contract. And
yeah.
then it's like I
Well,
got
I
to get
mean,
them out.
among all the social media, the Facebook's still more than Instagram or any of the other ones
Really
as far as like people who are buying houses are on Facebook. But
interesting. Yeah,
good stuff.
yeah. I just never had any luck with that. Let me rephrase